A review by Joshua Ross over Science, Serotonin, and Sadness, the Biology of Antidepressants, a series for the public, written by Sylvia Roble. To begin this review, I'm going to talk about what is depression. Approximately 5 to 8% of the population worldwide suffers from severe depression. A major depressive disorder is severe enough to interfere with the ability to work, study, sleep, and eat. To demonstrate the symptoms of depression, I've chosen to interview my friend Richard. Richard has been feeling a little down lately, so I'm going to ask him a few questions to see if he is depressed.
Are you persistently sad, anxious, or in an empty mood?
I don't even know what that means.
Just please answer the question.
Sure.
You sometimes feel hopeless, pessimistic, guilty, and worthless.
Pessimistic? Yeah, I guess so.
You have difficulty concentrating, remembering, and making decisions.
I don't really know.
Obviously, Richard is in denial. This is a major aspect in patients who are depressed. Most are embarrassed to admit to this serious mental disorder.
Right. Or death as a way to end your unhappiness.
Who says I'm unhappy? I'm fine. What are you talking about? Mike, I'm fine.
Have you been having trouble becoming sexually aroused?
No, I'm fine.
Well, snap out of it. You're depressed.
So why the slap in the face? Besides the fact that slapping someone is hilarious, before scientists were able to categorize depression as a neurological disorder, many thought that depression was an affliction of the human heart, mind, and soul. In this case, friends and family members were more likely to tell the person to just snap out of it, rather than have them seek medical advice. The history of neuropharmacology mirrors the understanding that mental disorders are diseases of the brain. In the first half of the 20th century, scientists painstakingly discovered a basic understanding of how the nervous system uses natural occurring chemicals called neurotransmitters to travel from nerve to nerve, delivering messages throughout the body, telling cells what needs to be done to keep the body functioning. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, scientists began to identify these specific neurotransmitters, such as norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin, soon to be recognized as deeply connected to depression. In the 1950s, scientists also became better able to measure levels of specific neurochemicals in the body and thus correlate these levels with behavior. This picture represents how a neuron transmits information from itself to another neuron. First, a nerve impulse travels down the axon of the presynaptic neuron. Once this impulse reaches the end of the axon, this will trigger the release of vesicle-filled neurotransmitters into the synapse. This is the space between neurons. Once the neurotransmitters is in the synapse, there are several pathways it can take. The neurotransmitter can bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. It can also be taken back up by the presynaptic neuron, also known as reuptake. Or it can be destroyed by an enzyme that is specific to it. Once scientists were able to discover how this process worked, there were a series of drugs that were found to help the mental disorder of depression. These are known as antidepressants. The first drug shown in this picture that was marketed as an antidepressant was Thorazine. This drug came from a variety of synthesized methods that was used as industrial dyes in Germany. Once chemists were able to extract the basic chemical, phenothiazine, from these dyes, it had shown some antihistamine properties along with sedative effects. In 1951, the pharmaceutical firm Rohn Pollenk was able to alter this drug into thorazine, which was shown to decrease the symptoms of depression. Even though thorazine was a great step in the right direction to help those with depression, there were some major side effects that kept scientists still looking for a better depression treatment. The second group of drugs, called MAOIs, or monoamine oxidase inhibitors, were discovered by Dr. Nathan Klein and were found to decrease the symptoms of depression by inhibiting the enzyme that break down the neurotransmitters. The problem with these drugs were their side effects, like jaundice and its reaction with tyramine, which is contained in many types of foods. This led many physicians to discard its use. After the success of thorazine, TCAs, or tricyclic antidepressants, were discovered and marketed in the U.S. The brand name Tofranil was the first of the TCAs, and from the late 50s to the early 1970s, TCAs were the #1 recommended drug for the use of treating depression. The problem with both MAOIs and TCAs were their lack of selectivity. Both of these drugs affected other neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and dopamine, thus causing some major side effects. Finally, the biggest discovery in the road to curing depression was due to a man named Julius Axelrod. Dr. Axelrod discovered the ability for neurons to reuptake neurotransmitters that they have released into the synapse and use at a later time. With this discovery, drugs known as SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, were developed. The drug known as Prozac was developed by the company Eli Lilly and was found to be over 200 times more selective to inhibiting the uptake of serotonin than previous drugs like thorazine and Tofranil. So in conclusion, I found this paper extremely informative in the history of antidepressants and the signs and symptoms of depression. Due to the effectiveness of Prozac and other SSRIs, I should probably give some to Richard instead of slapping him again.